the module for today. I ran a study on you, and so my first question that I have for everybody in the class, now you're going to put on, boy, that made it kind of too dark, didn't it? Yeah, I think so. The first question I have for you, would you actually call what I did with all of you, now you're not research participants anymore, you're students in the class, would you call what I did to you, I was the experimenter here, but when you write this up, you'll be writing it up as the experimenter, would you actually call what was done here a research experiment? So that is question number one. Would you actually call this a research experiment? Any thoughts about that? Sam, any thoughts? Did it seem like a research experiment to you?
Yes.
Yes, why did it seem like a research experiment?
Because we all had, so there's only like one level of the ID, which is lists, but we all had different lists.
So there was one independent variable. You might call that condition or list. Kate, anything else? Would you agree with what Sam had to say? Would you add anything to that?
I agree that it was an experiment.
Anything else that would add to
There was
that?
control. You controlled, like, we all had the same amount of time.
Everything was controlled by the experimenter. I told you what? I told you where to go and sit. Did I do random selection or random assignment here?
Well, not really, because random assignment, everybody has an equal chance of being in one group or the other, whereas you were just kind of like, oh, we all are over there.
So what I should have done, it was kind of quasi-random assignment. I said, everybody over here sit in the back row. Everybody over here sit in the second to last row. I could have actually said, go to the back two rows, everybody, and just sit. So you'd actually call that quasi-random assignment. That's good. I should have done it that way, but, you know, you win some, you lose some. Did it really matter? Not so much, because everybody was kind of looking at things. So I had an independent variable. We would call it what? The condition. How many levels were there? There were 2 levels. Did everybody have 2 levels? Yeah, everybody had 2 levels. What were the 2 levels you had? In one type of word list,
the words belonging to the category were just under the category.
so in one condition, the header, the words under the header all kind of matched the header label. You might call that organized. How about in the other list?
They were just
Very disorganized.
The headers were there, but the words under the headers
Just random.
were random. They were random. Where are you going to be putting this information? Where would this go in a paper? This is going to be part of your method section, so this would be good notes to take. You're not going to get this on your test. God bless you. So we had quasi-random assignment. We had one independent variable, condition. One was organized, one was random. Or you're going to probably need to describe that the labels matched and didn't match the words under them. What else do we need besides an independent variable?
Dependent variable.
And did I have a dependent variable? What was my dependent variable?
Number of words recalled.
Number of words correctly recalled. Number of words correctly recalled. number of words correctly recalled was the dependent variable. Now, did anybody notice how many people had the organized word list first? Can you raise your hands if you did? About half the people in the class raised their hands when it was organized first. How many people had the random words first? I think the hands aren't quite matching up with... It was actually half and half. So for the official writing of this, half of the class had the random words first, and half of the class had the organized words first. That's what you officially want to write down. I believe I set that up last night when I made these sheets and had them set up. Why did I do that? Why did I do that? Was there any method to my madness? Oh wait, we're at Mary Baldwin College. Method to my madness, isn't that Shakespeare? I think it is. From Hamlet, there's a method to my madness. Why did I do that? What kind of design was being run here? Was this an independent sample design, or was this a related sample design, a within subject design? Does anybody know the difference between independent sample and paired related sample? Brittany, what's the difference between the two?
Well, the independent or between subjects is one group gets one level and then the other group gets the other level. Within subjects, you get both.
So in an independent sample design for your notes, you only are tested once. Were you all tested once? You all were tested twice. So it was a within subject design, a within subject design. Does that have anything to do with why some of you got the organized word list first and some got the random word list first? Talaba, do you think that has anything to do with it?
Yeah, I think it's probably, you wanted to see if there was a difference between how many you could recall, depending on which one you got.
Yeah, we wanted to see, we had a hypothesis. You're bringing up actually the hypothesis. What was, and when you're writing this up, you'll be the experimenter. What do you think the hypothesis was in this experiment? That people would recall more when what? Can you answer that, Taliban?
When the words are organized.
When the words are organized, people should be able to recall more words than when the words are randomly organized. I think I've got it up here. Yeah, file A, the words were organized. But going back to this question, does anybody know what that is called, where I had half of you do the organized first and the other half do the random first? There's a word used to describe that. Counterbalancing in a within subject design. We counterbalanced order of the sheets. Why did I do that? What if I had just given everybody the organized list first? They might have just done better because why? Why would they have just done better? Hannah, if I had given everybody the organized list first, what could have been a reason they could have done better on that list?
Well, maybe if they didn't have the disorganized list first, they would, or if they did, they would be expecting that again, and then would be thrown off by the way the words were set up.
There could be you're talking about a carryover effect. So you do counterbalancing to prevent a carryover effect. Some people think that if you had the organized all first, your memory would be better for trial 1 because there would be interference with trial 2. Let's go back to that issue of control that I had. I was the researcher. What other things did I control about this experiment, which will be part of your write-up here? What else did I control? Did I control the instructions? What were my instructions? Will you need to write my instructions in there as your instructions?
Yeah.
What were the instructions? Go sit at a spot. The 2 sheets of paper were face down. Turn over the sheet. Were you told how long to look at each sheet? Was that held constant? 10 seconds? You can actually say the recall time was closer to a minute and a half. It was a minute and a half. Was anything else controlled about, what about the sheets? As you look at these, you're looking, oh, did I turn the display on? I did. Was there anything else that I controlled about this?
They're the same font, and on both sheets there were 4 words in each column.
There you go. I controlled, everything was standardized. The font was, I believe, actually, we can check this. You can say it was an 11-point font, and in each list there were 4 columns and 5 words in each column. Everything was held constant. Was that an important thing for me to do as the experimenter? Yes, that was very important. So let's go into this just a little bit more. Are people getting this? And you have the agenda up there. We had a hypothesis. So let's talk about writing a method section. How many people have written a method section before? So tell me about the subsections. What will you need first? Participants. How many participants did we have? Even for the online class, you can pretend you were running this. How many participants? 10 participants in the study. The cognitive neuroscience. And actually, let me even ask you this. This won't go into the write-up. Would you call this a cognitive neuroscience experiment or a cognitive experiment? Cognitive. Did I make a little joke on an announcement about that? Yeah. We were not going to do electroshock therapy on people, because that would be cognitive neuroscience, but maybe a little unethical. It was a cognitive experiment. So participants, 10 people taking from a small university, participants from the cognitive neuroscience class. Pretty short and sweet for participants. Age range, college age students, is everybody between 18 and 24 in here? What age range can I say? Do we have any 18-year-olds in here? Okay. What's the highest age we have? Do we have anybody 25, 26, 27? 24? Say again? Is it
Between the ages of your
15?
Yeah.
15 to 20.
Okay.
There you go.
15? Can we go 15 to 25? Would that be okay with people? Do we have anybody that's 25 or not quite? Sorry about that.
It's okay.
15 to 24? Do we have somebody who's at least 24? 23? 22? 21? Okay, the age range for the participants was 15 to 21. Thank you. That's going to kind of cover your short and sweet participant section. What's the next section you usually have? I hope I didn't offend anybody by that. What's the next section? Participants? Anyone? You guys should know this.
Procedure.
Materials! It was just a bunch of sheet. Sorry, I can't help that. That's my dissertation. Ambiguities, lexical ambiguities. So what will you talk about for materials?
The sheets of paper.
Yeah, you'll say a writing utensil, and you'll basically have to describe the sheet and the two kind of materials. Be very careful you don't go into any procedure in here. There were two sheets of paper. One was classified, one was organized. How would you describe the organized word list? Everything was an 11-point font. What do you notice about the top of each column? Just describe it. 4 columns, a column header. What was different about the column header?
It was boldy.
Bold-faced, bolded, 11-point font, 5 words per column. In the organized situation, what was the case? The header matched the words. How about in the random list? What was the case? Same thing was the way, but the header here, the words did not match the list, and we call that random. So that was basically it for materials. Did I give you a consent form? No, because this was a class study, so you don't need to describe that. So those were the materials. Next section is what? Me yakking. What do we call me yakking?
Instructions?
Not
Or the
quite.
procedure?
Procedure. The procedure is where you're going to kind of describe you as being the experimenter and the participants in the study. And what was the procedure? So what was the procedure? All the students did what at the start of class? Did you sit in your assigned seats? Did anybody notice anything back there? The back of the room? You may have noticed a little something, but the students came in and sat in the first 2 rows of the class. And then what did the experimenter say? Quasi-randomly assigned to have the left side of the class sit in what? The back row? The right side of the class sit in the second to last row? And then you go through the instructions. You'll be given 10 seconds to look at these word lists and a minute and a half to recall them. That was done once, and then that was done a second time. And we will actually ask you to include something that usually isn't part of a method section, because what were you asked to do when that was over?
How many words we got right?
Would a participant usually do that? No, but I'm going to ask you to write that in kind of in a separate way, maybe a second paragraph. Once the sections were done, once the procedure was run, each participant was asked to do what? Write down how many words they got correctly from the list and circle it, write it on the sheet, and then what did the experimenter do? Collected the sheets from every participant. Are we okay with this? Are you going to be tested on this? No, this is going to go into your paper. Okay. So we got that one done.